Hey again, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Kanan's Cadence, the show where I talk about my interests, hobbies, and experiences at my own pace with my own rhythm. A joyous new year to you all. Hope everyone's doing well. Today, as of this recording, is New Year's Day. So, again, Happy New Year. Hopefully, everyone had a good time doing whatever it is that you do, or if you don't do anything for New Year's, me and my family, we really don't do anything until the very, very end of the day as well. So, for me, it's kind of run of the mill. But if you guys were doing anything special, just stayed up to watch the ball drop or just celebrate with some friends, family, loved ones, whatever it is, hope everyone had a good time with that. Of course, when this goes up, it's a couple days beyond that as usual. But yeah, for me, this was just a couple hours ago at this point in time. And yeah, so we're into 2026, which I think is, I don't know, like every single time that a new year rolls around, it takes me a little bit to actually recognize, like, good God, that means that I'm 1 year further away from things that happened in the past, huh? As I think of it, 2026 makes 10 years since I graduated high school, which is kind of disgusting to put that into words. But yeah, that was 2016. It's been, I don't even want to keep doing the math for other things that have passed at this point in time, but like 2026, like that's kind of crazy. I'm only a couple years away from being 30 at this point, a couple weeks away from being 28, with my birthday right around the corner. Birthday's always right after the holiday season, so it's always kind of like a quick turnaround for me. But keeps it easy to remember. And I'll definitely need to remember it as I continue to get older. But anyway, so what does this whole idea of like a new year mean for me? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Um, I've said to a number of people already, and I continue to say it because it continues to be true. Um, I don't like the idea of the New Year's resolution, and I think that that sentiment is pretty much reciprocated for people around me. Maybe not if you are one who likes resolving to do something at the start of like a brand new year, something new, something that you've been holding off on, or you want to get back into, or something like that. Just something you want to commit to. If you use the resolution for that, more power to you. I have for a long time, not always, but for a long time, I've just been kind of opposed to the idea of my personal idea of a New Year's resolution, I should say. Just because I think the way that it always feels to me is that like just waiting for the end of the year and then the start of a new year to commit to something that feels like an excuse in a lot of ways. Again, this is just my personal opinion, as again, this is the show for my thoughts and opinions and interests and hobbies and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it just feels like an excuse to hold off on doing something until the calendar turns around. Or then, if you are a couple weeks, months, maybe sometimes it's not even beyond a few days into your resolution, and then like some you fall off of something, then it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait for next year. It's like, I already failed this year and stuff like that. I don't like thinking of it that way because if you fall off of what you resolve to do going into a new year, it can immediately feel like failure. Again, like at least that's what it strikes me as. And I speak from personal experience because I used to have those types of aims of mine just exclusively when leading into a new year. I want to say, I would always go into the next year, whether like when I was young, like kid, teenager, and stuff. So if it was going into like 2011, 2012, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. This is my resolution and all that type of stuff, and then it just didn't happen. And again, I feel like that sentiment is at the very least understood by a large number of people because I hear more and more people saying that by the day, just in my conversations with them. So for me, again, I don't like just the New Year's resolution. That said, leading into a new year always does get me thinking of just what I'm looking for out of my own life and the goals that I have. Goals, I prefer that sort of thing, and I don't like attaching the word new year to it just in general because it means like, okay, well, I have this goal and it's going to start immediately at the start of a new year and I'm going to carry it all throughout the year. And if I fall off of it, then I didn't achieve my goal or something like that. No, I don't like having that connection, but I do like thinking more and more of goals. And again, it always just feels like a proper time, ironically, start of a new year to really just focus up on the things that I've already been working towards, as well as some things that I maybe have been thinking about and would like to start implementing. Not as like, oh, this means it's like new year, new me. I'm going to aim to do this. I'm going to go to the gym consistently, all that type of stuff. That just doesn't work for me. And I feel, again, it doesn't work for a lot of people. But for me to be like, okay, we are at the top of a new year, and I have these goals that I've been spending some time focusing on. Let me just make sure that I keep my sights set on these things and maybe jot down a couple of other things that I want to start setting my sights on too. And again, like for me, when I do it that way, it feels a lot more just, I want to say like consistent, to put it one way. It doesn't feel like I have to wait for a year to end and for a new one to start before I start something. I can start it whenever and keep it going whenever and just allow myself to sink into the rhythm of it. Whether I have something that I'm working towards and it's like, okay, well, I cheated one day, I fell off of it another day, something like that, I can still get back onto it because I'm like, okay, well, the goal is still the same. My methods might have to change a little bit, but the goal is still there. And for me, again, like that's just what I want to aim for. So, all that said, what are a couple of goals that I've had for myself? I like this format that I've kind of created for myself here, where, again, it's kind of like one part podcast where it's like, okay, I have people who do actively listen to me. I've mentioned that before, and I appreciate that. Numbers might not be high, but I don't need them to be high. I'm just surprised that anyone listens at all. But so one part podcast, another part really just like it's almost like an audio journal for myself so I can remember certain things that have happened, just go back, recount those sorts of things, and also just give myself some way, some consistent way that I've created for myself to just sit down and just get my thoughts out so that I can be more likely to commit to the things that I say. Because if I have other people who are hearing me say this stuff, I'm less likely to just fall back on it because I'm like, well, these people heard me say this thing last week, so I got to keep to it, don't I? And beyond just the listener perspective, it's also helpful for me. I'm like, if I'm saying this thing now, there's a reason why I'm saying it now, and I'm not just going to suddenly shift gears. So, again, what goals do I have? So, I've spoken about this a couple episodes ago. One of my main goals that I have going forward, just in general, is to just play more music. I play a number of instruments at this point, and again, like varying levels of skill and all that type of stuff, but it doesn't matter. I have fun on the instruments that I play. So again, just to run down the list: saxophone, alto tenor, and newly soprano as of just a few days ago, and that's been a lot of fun. Flute, clarinet, piccolo as of like almost a year ago, bass guitar a few months back. Piano has been on and off for the last like 15 or so years, I want to say, at the very least. So yeah, like that's what I've gotten. Like there are others that I want to learn, but these ones I want to focus on and just do more with, do more practicing at home. Whether I'm practicing in order to like up my skills or playing just because I feel like it. Looking for opportunities to go out. Again, I spoke about the Jazz Loft. I've gone there once, and I intend on going back there when they open back up in February next month. And I've got my community band that I play in. Rehearsals for that start back up in a couple days. I guess for the time that the recording goes up, rehearsals will start back tonight. It would be Monday, January 5th. And I'm really looking forward to that because I've been longing to get back into just a consistent stream of like rehearsing with these other really talented musicians and stuff. So I want to do a lot more of that. And maybe a couple of you have noticed, I have actually gone and revived my old music profile on Instagram. I've been using Instagram a lot more over the last few months than I ever intended to. And I'm okay with it because I'm using it not just to like doom scroll and consume content for myself. I'm using it to put my own stuff out there. And that is a lot more in line with what I want to be doing just going forward, like creating versus consuming. I'm aiming to do more of that. So I did bring back my music profile, tweaked it a little bit from how it was when I was in college, make it more in line with me now and the stuff that I'm doing now. And I've posted a couple of videos at this point of me just playing. The first couple were just me on my soprano sax, and I intend on doing more. It's not exclusively going to be saxophone as I go forward. It's probably going to be just whatever instrument I feel like playing around with and recording myself. And I'm just really trying to get myself more comfortable again with putting myself out there for people to see, regardless of the quality of the whatever it is that I play or whatever it is that I record. I just want to put myself out there to convince myself to just keep going with it because I'm like the exposure is only going to help with my growth in the long run. So that's what I'm going to aim for when it comes to this platform. And I think I spoke about in my last music episode, just my desire to continue learning more with jazz over the last couple of days to maybe just over a week, 10 days, something like that. I've been doing more. I've actually been taking some online jazz courses again. I did that a while back. But I'm doing this now in a way where it's like it's just a monthly subscription, luckily, but I'm paying for it with the intention of just forcing myself to utilize what I'm paying for because I can't be wasting my money is the thing. So if I'm paying for it, that means that I got to actually do something with it. And so far so good. Again, like progress is not linear and it's going to take a while, but I'm trying to just improve my skills and like further myself as a player, as a jazz player especially because I've recently rediscovered how much I love doing that sort of thing. Again, I won't go into all that. That was what my last music episode was about just a couple weeks back. But yeah, so that's what I want to do music wise. And then beyond that, what are some other things? So, photography, I've spoken about that a couple times at this point. My aim is to get more, I just want to say better versed with using a camera, go more places where I can take more varied pictures and all that type of stuff. And then maybe, and again, this is where I say I've been using Instagram a lot more, maybe even start yet another profile on Instagram that I dedicate to my camera work that I aim to do and stuff that I've been doing. I posted a couple of pictures here and there, but also just shown people in passing, whether they're friends, family, coworkers, stuff like that. Just the pictures that I've been taking using my mirrorless camera, my Canon camera that I have now. And again, like the reception of those pictures, again, like genuinely, it has kind of caught me by surprise. The things that people have been saying, they're like, these pictures are really, really good. And I'm like, thank you. Again, like I have only been working at this for a couple of months at this point. I don't even think it's been a full 2 months that I've had this camera, and I've been taking my courses on Udemy. But again, like just a little bit at a time goes a long way, and the way that I look at just anything around me now, I see it in a different. I see it from a different perspective. Let me say, where it's like, okay, if I have my camera in hand, I have an idea of how I want to frame this. I have an idea of how I want this to be lit. I have an idea of how to adjust for said lighting and exposure and all that type of stuff. I'm not a master, not by a long shot, but just as I continue to think of a yet another longer term goal of mine, which is to go to grad school within the next couple of years, I want to major in some sort of camera work, whether it's I'm torn between filmmaking and photography just in general. I don't want to try to split my attention between the both of them. I'm gonna over the next couple of months, hopefully before the end of this year, come up with like a dead set. I want to do filmmaking or I want to do photography. Um, Over time, I'm going to figure that out. But one way or another, because that is a goal of mine, it's again forcing me to just keep with what I'm doing, really up my skills. Because if I'm going to grad school for this practice that I've only been really serious about for the last few months, I've got a long way to go before I'll be able to actually study, let alone get accepted into the programs that I'm looking at. But that's doable. I just have to put in the work. So that's another thing that I want to do, kind of playing into the photography thing as I'm moving along here. I want to travel more frequently. Last year, I was fortunate to be able to get myself out to Washington, D.C. Again, I spoke about that in a couple of episodes. That's why I went to see Lindsey Sterling. Got to meet her. That was freaking awesome. But man, I wish I had my current camera when I went out there. And I wish that I had my current knowledge when I went out there. But now that I do, I want to get myself traveling more, going places so that I'm not cooped up in the same, even like just like 10-mile radius all the time. It's exhausting over an extended stretch of time, let's say, and especially when it comes to just my creative eye that I'm trying to develop with a camera, I can't get myself to be well. I mean, like I guess technically I could, but like I want the pictures that I want to take are going to require more variety than I have just in my day to day life, just in the few places that I go to on the regular and like the scenery that I have in my neighborhood and all that type of stuff. I can't get the most out of I can't make the most out of my developing photography skills just by staying in the same areas. And that said, again, I want to get myself going more places so that I can have the experiences of also just visiting different places more often too. What I'd like to do if I'm able, I'd like to try to travel at least, I mean, like, and again, like tentative, but at the very least once a year, maybe twice if I'm lucky is a thing, or if I'm able to make the time. And just where I go, it's going to be up to me and all that type of stuff. So I went to DC last year. I went to Philadelphia the year before. I want to go to Philly again, especially because that's where I'm aiming to go for grad school at Temple University. I want to get myself out there and just more familiar with the city and the campus and all that type of stuff ahead of when I actually eventually start applying for master's programs and stuff like that. Um, and again, like the last two times that I've been to Philadelphia, two out of two, I should say, I've been there with people, so I've been kind of bound to like the will of a group as opposed to just what it is that I want to do there. There were things I didn't get to do the last time I was there that I really wanted to, but I couldn't because the person I was there with didn't want to do those things themselves. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do this the next time I'm there. So I want to get myself back out there with my camera and like get some really nice pictures and, like other places as well. I'm going to Disney World in just a few days at this point, as I've also spoken about. So my camera's coming with me there, and I plan to take some nice shots there. That I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, like travel, that's one of the things that I want to do. Um, Kind of like a bigger life goal for myself as I'm moving further down my list is either this year or next year I'm looking to finally get myself like into an apartment of my own or something like that because I've been living at home for a long enough time at this point. Very, very grateful for the privilege that I've had to stay at home and not pay like anything crazy in terms of rent. Like I will when I eventually move, but one way or another, I'm like, I got to get myself, like, I got to get the ball rolling for myself is the way that I kind of look at it. Um, this year will make 6 years. God, 6 years by the end of this year since I was living away from home in Potsdam when I was studying at Crane. And the time that I had there when I was living away from home, again, like yes, like I still had like just the limitations of being at college and all that type of stuff, but I still felt like I had a freedom that I'm just longing for in that I'm still, again, at home right now. So aiming to make that reality soon enough. I'd originally said like 2026, like middle to end of 2026 was when I wanted to be able to move out. And like, I would love to be able to hold to that, but just being realistic, like I got to save more money and it's going to be harder to find a place at that too. So I don't know that it's going to be this year, but I'm going to try my best to stick to that goal. If not this year, then 100% 2027 once that rolls around. That's just, I'm locking in with saying that. I'm not going to let it go any further than that. Want to be able to be on my own by the time that I'm 30, and I got 2 more years for that. Christ. Anyway, so that's a big goal that I have, and I'm making sure to stick to it. So I'm going to do whatever I can to stick with that. Got a lot of saving that I'm trying to do, and that's part of what brings me into at the very least, the last thing that I jotted down on this like makeshift list, just so I can kind of keep myself with some sort of structure here, is there's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to just leave behind me, not just in 2025 specifically, because that's kind of, I don't know, for me that's a little too limiting. In we're effectively now in the second half of this decade, the 2020s, which again, take that for what it is. We got only a handful of years left before we're into the next decade, and I hate thinking about that, but it's just the truth. And the first half of this decade, my goodness, talk about a whirlwind for so many reasons. Global reasons, of course, that's the obvious one. But like me, I have my own personal reasons why this decade so far has been like so crazy. Ups and downs. But I'm trying my best as I bring again myself to the end of this list. That the last thing that I wrote down here, and I'll just read what I said. I said, leave baggage behind. I have a lot of baggage from the first half of this decade. I'm not going to go into all the specifics. If you want to know, just reach out to me personally. Odds are, if you're listening to this, you probably already know a good amount of the stuff that I'm referring to anyway. But a lot of stuff that happened in the first half of this decade. Again, a good amount of it was good, but a lot of it was really not. And I just don't want to keep carrying that with me. I was having a conversation with a friend a few days back where talking about like I felt like I have felt like I've been for a while being haunted by stuff from my past, and like it's really my past over the last like 5 years or so at this point. A lot of it is more recent than that, but like just kind of like a broad spectrum, like the last 5 years, let's say. And I try to, or I for a while tried to like pin the blame exclusively on the outside factors and all that type of stuff until just in our conversation I realized that like if I'm being haunted by ghosts, they're ghosts of my former self or my former selves, because I feel like I was a few different people over the last few years just based on like where I was in life, what I was doing, um, and just the happenings around me and all that type of stuff. So I definitely felt like I had like a few different identities I juggled between, and none of them were like the real me. And I'm really trying to like just fully embrace the me that I am aiming to be just going forward through the rest of my life, not just through this year. And this is where I say, like I said in the beginning, I have to stress, um, I don't like New Year's resolutions. I don't like being like, oh, these are my goals for 2026. No, what I'm talking are like goals for 2026 and beyond. That's what I'm aiming for, just the remainder of my life. And I've spent so much time just trying to figure out who I am and like what I'm aiming for, what I'm doing most of the time, like almost daily. I'm just like, what am I even doing here? But I don't always have to know what I'm doing. I just have to have an idea of what I'm aiming for. And I know what I'm aiming for at this point. Hence, again, the entirety of this episode as I've been talking about this stuff. And again, I have zero reservations at this point about just letting it be known to whomever wants to like listen to me in this format or just listen to me in general. Like if we're having a face to face conversation, text conversation, phone conversation, I have no reservations about just letting people know that, like, again, like the last few years for me were rough. They were really, really rough for a bunch of different reasons. And I have a lot of baggage that I'm just trying to, not even trying to, I have effectively convinced myself to let go of. And even just to like last night, I made sure I was like, we're going to bookend this half of the decade by doing something. Again, this I won't go into detail with. Again, message me if you want to know what I'm talking about. But I last night like made it a point to just bookend the first half of the decade by doing something that I was afraid of doing for a long time, and it involved no one other than just me and my computer, just talking into the mic as I'm doing right now. That is not going to be a podcast episode. That was just for me. And again, like it was heavy. It was tough for me to just get my thoughts out. I was speaking from like the bottom of my heart. And at first I didn't have the words. And then before I knew it, I had spoken for close to 40 minutes before I just hit stop on the microphone because I had so much that I needed to get out. And once I had done that and just let all this stuff, just these like pent up emotions out into my microphone, oh my goodness, I can't remember the last time that I felt so at peace. Genuinely. Like I'm not exaggerating even slightly. I felt so good. And I still feel so good, only not even a full day later. And I'm holding on to this feeling. That is my plan. I don't like no more baggage. Like baggage, like no more old baggage at the very least. Like whatever is to come in the future, I'm willing to accept it as it comes. But I'm not willing to let myself continue to be just limited and held back by just all these things having to do with like elements of my life from the past that are no longer part of my life. That's just not me. That's not who I want to be or how I want to live my life. So I'm moving forward. And again, like I said before, I have no reservations about just making that clear. It makes me feel better to say this stuff. And again, if you want to like actually know what it was that I was referring to before, you can just talk to me because I'm open to talking about this stuff now. Again, just getting it out last night made me realize how much better I feel when I talk about it. But again, that stuff is still personal, so we would need to have a personal conversation as opposed to me just putting that out there for the world to hear if they wanted to listen. If the world ends up listening to my podcast, don't you have anything better to do? That's kind of the biggest thing that I gotta think. I'm just like, listen, like I'm just here rambling for like 20 to 30 minutes at a time. even I'm just like, hey, don't I have anything better to do? But this has become something that's really, really fun for me to do. And I look forward to it each Thursday that I choose to sit down and record this. Um, and regardless of whatever, like whomever might listen, if they listen, I am still, since the beginning, I've been doing it just for me, and that's still the case. So, with all that said, again, like that's pretty much it for today. Just going into some things that I'm aiming for myself going forward. Again, like looking at my life from a new perspective as we come into a new year. That's kind of the way that I like doing things. Again, not resolving to do one particular thing or a couple particular things just because it's a new year, but just how do I continue to proceed, because I can't slow down time as much as I want to try to. Can't slow it down, can't alter its course, just got to take it as it comes and just allow myself to flow with it, not try to avoid it. So that's what I'm aiming for, and I'm really looking forward to the things that I continue to plan for myself and the things that I've already had planned for myself. Everything as it comes, I'm open to it at this point. So, all that said, again, I hope that everyone also has like a good start to their year, because for me, even though we're only one day in, not even a full day in at this point, I feel like I've already had a pretty solid start to my year. I hope that is the case for everyone else out there. And I'm looking forward to continuing with this show, continuing with everything else that I'm doing, and looking forward to whatever it is that I end up talking about next week as well. So, as always, thanks so much if you decided to listen to me for the last, my goodness, almost 30 minutes again. Again, I have really, really quick before I end this, I have gotten the question like once or twice, just like, oh, are you gonna consider making your episodes longer? I'm just like, I could barely, I don't know. Like, I feel like my episodes would be longer if I had people alongside me that I was chatting with. There are certain people that I know I would have to try and limit how long the episodes went. But for when they're just solo like this for me, I'm like, 25 to 30 minutes, I feel like that's a good stretch of time. Saves it from getting to be a little too much, I think, personally. So, but as far as like, will I be bringing anyone onto the show? Oh, well, if I get the proper setup for that, maybe we'll cross that bridge eventually. So, anyway, before I ramble anymore, thanks again for listening. Happy New Year, everyone, and I will catch you in the next episode. Take care.